Let me say this in Candace's defense. First of all, she's brilliant. Candace is brilliant. I realize she's controversial, but she is very smart. She's too smart to F around and say that she's got like the letter. She seems to have either the letter or recordings that she doesn't have. She just tweeted out, more is going to come out. The truth is inevitable. They're lying, but rest assured, these people were deranged enough to put their anger and demands in writing. Now, that doesn't mean it's Bill Ackman. I don't know whether Bill Ackman, I have no reason to doubt Andrew Colvett, that's for damn sure, who says Charlie seemed to have a cordial time and wasn't threatened at the Bill Ackman summit. But anyway, keep going. Yeah, I interrupted you.
No, I mean, just what we do as journalists, though, is we give people's opinions a certain weights depending on how credible they are on other things. And, the last thing I saw her talking about was whether or not Brigitte Macron was a member of the Stanford prison experiment, and talking about Frankists and Stalin being Jewish and this singular obsession these days with Israel. We talked earlier about how, when it came to Jesus Christ.
But let me just ask you something. Let me ask you something, Moynihan. Okay, yeah. And I understand, like we did a legal debate on the Macron thing. It's an 8-part series that you can watch on Candace's feed. That's where the references to Brigitte come from. But yeah, you don't have to trust her. If Candace is not your cup of tea, that's fine. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. She's not everybody's cup of tea. But I just played you a 4-minute exchange of Charlie saying...
Oh, no. So, no, I was getting to that. And I actually want to address that because I think that's totally normal. And as you point out with polling, I just did a show the other day with Alan Dershowitz, and I don't think there's anyone on earth who is a bigger and more uncompromising defender of Israel than Alan Dershowitz.
Totally right.
But Dershowitz, I brought this up to him and I said, look, Israel's losing people on this. And his response was not to say, no, that's not true. He said, look, there's polling in which Israel is the least popular country on earth. Like, in the number one was, I think, Germany and Japan. And he made some joke about them being the axis and Israel on the other end of that. That's completely normal to have this conversation. But Charlie Kirk says something that is very different than what Candace Owens feels about this stuff. He says during that conversation with you that he is a stalwart Zionist. He doesn't like people questioning his commitment to that idea or going so far as to calling him an anti-Semite or something. I don't know who these people are. But that is not surprising from conservatives who have been, denouncing people rightfully for ending debate by calling people racist for years. So that's just in kind. But, I wonder why, before Charlie Kirk had been buried, the number of people that were talking about Israel. That's the thing that concerns me about why this is coming up. Why is it about the pet issue that she's been talking about, I think, obsessively for every time I tune in to, like, in these totally crazy ways? I mean, the guy Ian
Well, I don't know if this is true of Candace.
Well,
but obviously some people... No, but I was just going to say, but some people obviously were wondering whether Israel had a hand in this. I mean, that's clearly why it's come up, and there's zero evidence of that.
Netanyahu is responding. I mean, I don't think that in any other circumstance, if this had not kind of taken over like a prairie fire on the internet, and this guy Ian Carroll has been on Joe Rogan's show. He was a guest host of Candace's show this summer, was on Twitter saying the Israelis did this. And even, you have someone like Dave Smith, who has a lot of problems with me, and we disagree on almost everything. But he responded, he's like, dude, what are you talking about? Where is this?
He said
evidence?
That was crazy talk.
So, it's crazy. And like, even Alex Jones was like, guys, all of this conversation about this, why are we having a conversation about Charlie Kirk's commitment to Israel immediately after he was assassinated? Because there's so many ghouls out there who are trying to suggest that maybe because he was wavering on this. And as Charlie said to you, I didn't know the guy. I met him, I think, one time. But he didn't say that he was wavering on it. He said he didn't
understand.
Like
under that theory. Here's what I don't get. Under that theory, like, Candace is very influential. She's got a very popular show. Yes. Tucker, same. And obviously neither one is feeling very supportive of Israel in this war. That's for sure in Tucker's case, and for sure in Candace's case. And whether it goes beyond that, that's up to other people to decide. I don't listen to their shows every day. Those two would have been the obvious targets. I'm not trying to get them endangered. God knows. I'm just saying, like, I don't understand it. And Tucker did suggest to me that he has been under threat. He didn't say from Israel, but he's definitely been under threat. I don't know. I just don't get, like, there'd be no incentive. I get the logic. Like, that doesn't make sense. We're starting to lose Charlie. So, like, we've got to take him out. If you're really thinking Israel is like at that level of, but to me, it just seems like you have him running around out there being much more of a proselytizer for Israel than a critic. It doesn't make sense.
No, and also this is just somebody who is engaged in so much conspiracy theory recently, from 9/11 to, flat earthers and dinosaurs and Brigitte Macron. And it's just,
what do you think of Brigitte Macron, though? I mean, honestly, like,
I think Brigitte Macron is the very, very weird wife of Emmanuel Macron, who started hooking up with him when he was like 14. That's weird enough. We can finish it there. that kind of stuff is like, geez.
That actually is so crazy. Like, I told the audience when we talked about Candace's series on that, I did not watch it for the full 8 hours. But I did watch a lot about her relationship with Emmanuel and how it got started, which I did know, but I had forgotten about. She was his teacher. Yeah. She was, I think, 39, and he was 14 or 15 at the most. And like, his parents ejected him from the school because they knew there was something inappropriate between them. And then she always claimed, never until he was older. But there seemed to be a lot of smoke there. Anyway, it's very creepy. The whole thing is very creepy. In any event,
they're still together, so we'll give them credit for that.
Yeah, I will say though, my own takeaway from this is Israel needs to wrap up this war, and I know they have hostages who are still in the hands of Hamas. But Ben Shapiro and I talked about this at length when he was on. He said they made a mistake from the beginning in saying they're not going to stop until every hostage is out, and that may not be possible. And it can't go on forever. And honestly, it's because I do support Israel that I really would like to see them end this, even without the perfect resolution, which would be getting all the hostages back. They're just losing too much support. America's starting to turn on them. And that cannot happen. That just cannot happen. They've exacted really appropriate justice in response to what happened to them on 10/7. Hamas is entirely to blame for what happened to Israel on 10/7. And like, the fact that we're even having to have this discussion as Americans and people on the right tells me, like, this is a crisis for Israel. PR crisis is what I mean, and they need to wrap it up.
If I can make one final point on this is, I had Eli Lake, my dear friend and the dear friend of the three of us, on the show, and Eli is about as sort of full-throated of a Zionist as you can get. And I asked him about the operation into Gaza, and he said, I think it's a terrible idea. And Eli is a very, very strong supporter of Israel. But you also will notice that all of these debates are taking part, people are taking part of them in Israel. They're very controversial in Israel, too. So when Charlie Kirk says, I don't know if I like the way this war is going, he's not only not alone in that, he wouldn't be alone in Israel. He's not alone amongst people on the right who support Israel in America. The wisdom of what Israel is doing is being questioned, and it's good that people question it. Those debates are healthy and they're necessary.
But you do get called an anti-Zionist or an anti-Semite. Truly, when you do try to debate, trust me, I had 2 years of totally unbroken universal support for Israel. That was it. I said two things, and this shitstorm that rained down on me was unbelievable, which is fucked up. And that's what Charlie was saying too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concern is the difference between those things of questioning. And I've no doubt that if you say it, that it's true, that people have come down on you. But there's no doubt that the difference between someone questioning the wisdom of how Netanyahu's been conducting the war and what the end game of that war is, or even the strikes on Iran and America's involvement in them, and where the Trump administration is vis-a-vis Israel, is totally normal. And the conversations that Candace Owens has about this stuff, I don't believe to be normal. I believe them to be completely insane. And they're really, really deep in blood libel, in really gross old conspiracy theories.
Can I ask you a question on that? Let me just add an honest question for you. An honest question for you on that. Because I see the clips that they share of Candace online. And every once in a while, I'll go and just kind of check the clip to see if it's like real. And more than once in her case, and same thing with Tucker, by the way, and many times in his case, when I go back to the original source, I'm like, this was taken out of context. Now, I'm a busy person, and I don't have time to listen to every podcast. Whatever. If it's not a segment we're going to do on the show, I'm probably not going to go back and watch the whole thing. But I have seen Candace taken out of context many, many times, and you can, times that by 100 on Tucker. So, do you listen to her show? Like, do you actually know that the little clips you've seen online are not taken out of context?
I think it's an unbelievably important and fair question, because I've seen you taken out of context. I've seen myself taken out of context. I've seen Charlie Kirk taken out of context in the last 24 hours, and say, Karen Attiah getting fired, and literally people saying, well, she just quoted him, and the quote was an invention. Fake. Yeah. Half of it is real, the other half isn't, and that other half changes it entirely. Mm-hmm. But I will say on some of this stuff, because I am pretty knowledgeable about some of these conspiracy theories and what people are talking. She's talking about World War II and stuff. So I have watched entire episodes of these things with my jaw on the floor and my eyes rather wide. These ideas of Frankists, and I'm surprised by a lot of it. But I assure you that this stuff isn't taken out of context. And I think what happens with people when they get into conspiracy theories is it's never just one. They take the whole passel of them. So 9/11, if it's 9/11, if it's Israel, Brigitte Macron was a bit of a surprise that was thrown in there. But there is a bit of a conspiratorial way of thinking.
When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion, do you ever think maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Just text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility and get your free info kit. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.